Hello and welcome to a special edition of Sportsworld, coming to you this week from Ghana, host country for the 26th African Cup of Nations. Coming up, as all of Ghana focuses on African success for now, we investigate the European dreams fueling the domestic game here. Do these men have the right to complain? We'll hear from the English clubs who've lost key players to this tournament in the middle of the Premier League season. And the fight town of Ghana, we visit the unlikely breeding ground that's produced some of the world's best boxers. Just about everyone you talk to here in Ghana is predicting, or at least hoping for, an appearance by their team in the Cup of Nations final here at Accra's main stadium on February the 10th. But what every young player in Ghana really seems to want is what the majority of the current Ghana squad already have: a contract with a high-profile European club and a wage packet to match. It looked like the return of conquering heroes, but this was in fact just the Ghana team arriving home for the Africa Cup of Nations. It's fair to say the locals were quite pleased to see them.
Yeah, it's a very good atmosphere, you know. Such an atmosphere is very good for us, you know. It inspires us to do more.
It's somewhat ironic the host nation had to fly back to play in their own country, but almost all of the Ghana squad now play in Europe, including Africa's most expensive player, Chelsea's Michael Essien. This is where it all started for Essien, at the Liberty Professionals Club in Accra. The club has nurtured a procession of talented players in recent years, only to see many of them leave for Europe. But the coaches here don't see that as a problem.
I rather feel very proud to know that at least I coach Michael Essien, and today he's a star in this European club. We don't think it's a frustration for us. We think that if we want to develop football, then we should be able to gather players and train them and let them go.
It's a philosophy and approach that the man in charge of world football is constantly frustrated by.
This brings me back to the movie The Gladiator. Really, it is slavery. It is slavery. And the coach, he should be happy to have the best players here and to keep them here. Okay, that if he has 5 good players, then say, okay, 1 we can afford to go somewhere else. But also it should be then a market inside Africa. It should also be a market to say then we go and play there. But to say just I prepare and then I sell him, what kind of social responsibility such people they have?
Football may be everywhere in Ghana, but money certainly isn't. A third of the population earn around $1 a day. A move to Europe as a professional footballer is the dream ticket. There are hundreds of unofficial academies in Accra, all promising they can make it happen, but there are also countless reports of young players signing contracts they don't understand and being illegally trafficked to Europe for trials.
And you know, they are proud, these young people, and then they will not come back because when they leave, when they have left, they say, you know, now I can go, and they cannot come back and to say, oh, it was wrong, it was wrong. They don't want to accept that. So this is like a modern slavery, and we have to do something.
With respect to the issues of players signing contracts they don't really understand, it's quite bad. I think it's rather offensive and indecent. It's exploitation at the highest level, and we try as much as possible when things like this come to our notice.
We speak about the best-known players, but hundreds and thousands of African players are in Europe, and they have no good position, or they don't even play. They are on the bench, or they are in 2nd or 3rd division. Some of them even played in 2nd division leagues, like my country, Switzerland, where they say it's professional. They're not professionals. So therefore it would be better for this category of players to stay home and to play here and to bring the football into the national activities. I know it's not so easy to realize, but step by step it will be done.
FIFA cash is being put into Ghana's domestic league to try and make it stronger, but professional players here still only earn around $300 a month. While many respected junior clubs and coaches complain they're receiving no support and are having to train young players in appalling conditions.
We don't have good training pitches to develop the boys, and if you want to play in the top level of football, then you need to start from the grassroots. And so if you don't get, like you, a child being born, if he doesn't go to the nursery or the crèche, how will he learn ABC? No top coach want to come to do training or do this job. They call it dirty job. Oh, what are you doing? This is, but we have to sacrifice and do it well.
The short-term outlook for Ghanaian football is simple enough. A country is united behind their team's efforts to win a 5th African title, but the long-term future of football here looks to be a little more complicated. Now, of course, a sizable majority of all the players who will be appearing at this Cup of Nations have already made it to professional level in Europe. Now, the clubs there know this tournament comes around every 2 years, but that hasn't stopped coaches signing African players or indeed complaining when they're taken away from them at a crucial stage of the season. Carrie Brown reports on the impact this event is having on the English Premier League.
As Arsenal battle with Manchester United at the top of the English Premiership, just about the last thing their manager Arsene Wenger wants is to have his squad depleted even further. As if injuries and suspensions weren't bad enough, he's now facing up to a month without attacking midfielder Emmanuel Eboué, prize defender Kolo Touré and midfielder Alexandra Song. Yes, it's African Cup of Nations time again, and again the managers of the leading European clubs are feeling the effects.
But it's not a good period, especially when they come back. You never know how tired they are, because we have already a long season here, and plus a tournament. Usually the players come back very tired, and you lose them not only for that period, but for much longer.
More than 70% of African players compete in Europe, yet the Confederation of African Football, also known as CAF, continues to schedule the African Cup of Nations during the European season. Worse still, the tournament is held every 2 years. In contrast, the Continental Championships for Asia, Europe and recently confirmed South America are every 4 years. The Nations Cup was originally held in January to avoid searing heat. But now Africa has modernised its stadia, English Premier League managers are demanding the schedule is brought up to date before they're dissuaded from recruiting more African players. What would be your recommendations to CAF about the running of it?
To play it every 4 years and to play it in June. Because they know as well that they can play at night, because now they have enough lights to play. Before they wanted to play in the winter period because they had no potential to play at night, but now they can do it. And overall they know as well they have more and more players who play in Europe in the big clubs, and the big clubs do not want to pay the price. That means it will be detrimental to the African players because the big clubs will not give them a chance anymore.
Portsmouth are among the 3 Premier League clubs hit hardest. Harry Redknapp's side have lost 4 players, including top scorer Nwankwo Kanu, striker John Utaka and midfielders Sully Montari and Papa Bouba Diop, all absent while Portsmouth battle to qualify for a lucrative UEFA Cup spot. Newcastle, also vying for European qualification, have lost striker Obafemi Martins, defensive midfielder Jeremy and defenders Abdoulaye Faye and Habib Bey. Chelsea, like Arsenal, are challenging for the Premier League title. They too have lost 4 players, including top scorer Didier Drogba, fellow striker Solomon Kalou, and midfielders Michael Essien and John Obi Mikel. But there are advantages to having a billionaire owner. Roman Abramovich funding the transfer of Nicolas Anelka for $30 million to plug the gap left by Didier Drogba. But even at Chelsea, it remains hard for players to leave their clubs. Ghana's Essien, whose country is hosting the tournament, admits to feeling torn, but has faith in his club's ability to adapt without their African stars.
It's really hard, but I think we got the other players to do the job whilst we are away, so I don't think it will be any big problem for us.
The big money nature of club football is putting players under increasing pressure to put the club that pays their weekly wages before country. But Essie's determined to give Ghana his all.
Well, it means a lot. So, once you wear the shirt, you represent almost 22 million, and they're all looking up to you. So you have to give up your best, and that's what I try to do. I'm a winner, and I want to win everything. But I think I had a very good World Cup. I think I still have more to do, and to see my fellow Africans here is amazing. And we are together, and I think it's a good thing.
Well, clubs like Arsenal bemoan the departure of their players. Premier League sides will be sending scouts to Ghana to spot emerging talent. After all, Africa's emerging stars have congregated conveniently in one country. Since the last Nations Cup, the number of African players in the Premier League has more than doubled, from 21 to 44. And countering charges of hypocrisy, Wenger does admit while the clubs lose out from the departure of their players, the Nations Cup provides exposure for a pool of potential talent ahead of the summer transfer market. A number of scouts will be departing England, heading into the African nations. They're all in one place. It's a great time to pick some key talents.
It is, because you find fantastic players over there, but overall I still believe that like Chelsea now, like us, we have a few players who are coming from Africa. You do not want to lose a championship because the players have to go during that period.
Football journalists who've covered this ongoing battle between CAF and the Premier League see no end in sight.
The bulk of the money that CAF makes from the Cup of Nations come from non-African broadcasters. The BBCs, the Eurosport, the ESPNs, among many others. And therefore, if we have our own tournament, at the same time as the European Championships, at the same time as the Copa America, I think Africa might just lose out. If we take away TV revenue, then the game cannot develop in Africa. Then we cannot see many of the Didier Drogbas and the Kolo Tourés and the Michael Essiens spring out of Africa and come and dazzle in the English Premier League and in the European League.
Until that issue is resolved, this African Festival of Football will continue to draw complaints from Arsene Wenger and his colleagues, while they, at the same time, trawl the tournament for the next undiscovered talent. Carrie Brown, Al Jazeera, London.
Remember, you can keep up to date with all the latest sports news at our website. That's at aljazeera.net/English. But stay with us here on Sportsworld, because coming up after the break, we'll be looking at the role football is playing in promoting peace in the nearby country of Liberia. And we'll take you on a trip to Ghana's Fight Town, a breeding ground for some of the world's best boxers.